The December rain hit the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse like bullets, each drop a tiny explosion against the glass. Maya Chen stood in the living room of the home she'd called hers for 5 years, 8 months pregnant, her swollen belly pressing against the thin fabric of her maternity dress as she tried to understand the words her husband had just spoken. Marcus Ashford stood across from her, his 6-foot frame rigid in his custom Tom Ford suit, his jaw set in that way she'd once found attractive, but now recognized as cruelty masquerading as strength. In his hand, he held divorce papers. Behind him, barely visible in the hallway leading to their bedroom, stood Sienna Vale, Marcus's business associate, wearing Maya's silk robe. "I don't understand," Maya said quietly, her hand moving instinctively to her belly where their daughter kicked. "Marcus, what's happening?" "I'm divorcing you." His voice was cold, clinical, like he was terminating a contract rather than ending a marriage. "Effective immediately." Maya's legs felt weak. She reached for the back of the sofa to steady herself. "Why? What did I do?" Marcus laughed, actually laughed, a sound so sharp it made Maya flinch. "What did you do? Maya, look at yourself. You're pathetic." She stared at him, her mind struggling to process the venom in his voice. This was the man who'd proposed to her in Paris 5 years ago, who'd promised to love her through everything, who'd held her hand in the hospital just 2 months ago when they found out they were having a girl. "I'm pregnant with your child," she whispered. "I know what you are." He took a step closer, his eyes traveling over her body with disgust. "You're fat, you're tired all the time, you can't even fit into normal clothes anymore. Do you know what it's like having to look at you every day?" The words hit her like physical blows. Maya had gained 45 pounds during the pregnancy. Her doctors said it was perfectly healthy, that she was growing a human being. But Marcus had started making comments months ago. Little jabs about her appetite, about how she waddled instead of walked, about how she'd let herself go. She'd thought it was stress from his work. Marcus ran a successful tech company, Ashford Solutions, that provided security software to major corporations. He was always under pressure, always chasing the next deal. She'd made excuses for his increasing distance, his late nights, his irritation when she asked him to come to prenatal appointments. Now she understood. It wasn't stress. It was contempt. "Marcus, I'm carrying your daughter." "You keep saying that like it means something," he interrupted. "Like I'm supposed to overlook how you've completely destroyed yourself just because you're pregnant. My mother warned me about this. She said you'd trap me with a baby and then stop trying." Patricia Ashford. Of course. Marcus's mother had never liked Maya, had never thought she was good enough for her son. Too quiet, too plain, too poor. Patricia came from old Dallas money, and she'd made it clear from day one that Maya, a graphic designer from a working-class family, was beneath their standards. "I didn't trap you," Maya said, her voice shaking. "We planned this pregnancy. You wanted this baby." "I wanted the idea of a family," Marcus corrected. "I didn't want this." He gestured at her dismissively. "Look at you. You're enormous. You can barely move. And you wonder why I found someone else?" That's when Sienna emerged fully from the hallway, no longer hiding. She was 26, blonde, perfectly thin despite being the same height as Maya. She wore Maya's robe loosely, and underneath it was clearly nothing but skin. "Marcus," Sienna said sweetly, placing a manicured hand on his shoulder. "Don't be too hard on her. She can't help that she let herself go." Maya felt bile rise in her throat. "How long?" "Does it matter?" Marcus asked. "How long?" He sighed, annoyed at having to explain. 6 months. Since the company retreat in Aspen. 6 months. Maya had been 3 months pregnant then, dealing with morning sickness so severe she could barely keep food down. She'd stayed home from the retreat because the altitude made her dizzy. And while she was home vomiting and growing their daughter, Marcus had been in Aspen with Sienna. "I want you out," Marcus said, his tone shifting to business. "Tonight." "What?" "You have 30 minutes to pack whatever you can carry. Leave your key on the counter." Maya's mind reeled. "This is my home. My name is on the lease." "Actually, it's not." Marcus pulled out his phone, showed her something on the screen. "I had the lease redrawn 6 months ago. Your name was removed. This penthouse is mine, paid for by my company. You have no legal claim to it." You removed my name?" "I've been planning this for a while," he said casually, like he was discussing quarterly earnings. "I'm not an idiot, Maya. I knew I'd have to end this eventually. I just waited until I had everything in order." The cruelty of it stole her breath. He'd been planning to throw her out for 6 months. While she'd been decorating the nursery, reading parenting books, preparing for their daughter's arrival, he'd been systematically erasing her from his life. "The bank accounts?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Drained this morning at 6 a.m. Everything was transferred to my personal account. The joint account is closed." Maya pulled out her phone with trembling hands, opened her banking app. The account they'd shared for 5 years. The account that held $28,000, money they'd been saving for the baby, for maternity leave, for emergencies, showed a balance of $0. "That's our daughter's money," she said, her voice breaking. "That's for diapers and formula and—" "That's my money," Marcus interrupted. "Everything in this relationship has been my money. You make what, 40,000 a year doing your little design projects? That's nothing. That's embarrassing. You're too poor to even support yourself, let alone a child." There it was, the word he'd been building toward. Poor. Maya's family hadn't been wealthy. Her mother was a nurse, her father worked construction. They'd lived in a modest house in a working-class neighborhood, and Maya had put herself through community college before transferring to a state university. She'd worked 3 jobs to graduate debt-free. She'd built her freelance design career from nothing, landing clients through sheer skill and determination. But to Marcus and his family, none of that mattered. She didn't have the right last name, the right pedigree, the right zip code. She was poor, and that made her worthless. "What about the baby?" Maya asked, placing both hands on her belly protectively. "Your daughter will be better off without you," Sienna interjected, stepping closer to Marcus. "Marcus and I are getting married next month. We'll provide a stable, successful home for the child. Unlike you." Maya stared at her. "You're getting married? Next month?" "February 14th, Sienna said, smiling. "Valentine's Day. Romantic, don't you think?" 6 weeks away. They'd planned a wedding while Maya was pregnant with Marcus's child. "The baby isn't due until January 30th, Maya said, doing the math in her head. "You're getting married 2 weeks after I give birth?" "Assuming you make it to full term," Sienna said lightly. "Given your size, you might deliver early. Either way, we've made arrangements. Marcus will file for custody once the baby's born. Given your financial situation, or lack thereof, you won't be able to fight it. The child will come to us." "You can't take my baby." "Watch me," Marcus said. He checked his watch. "It's been 5 minutes. You have 25 minutes left. Start packing." Maya's vision blurred with tears. "Please, please, Marcus. I don't understand what I did to deserve this. I've loved you. I've supported your career. I gave up my apartment, my independence, everything to build a life with you. And that's the problem, he interrupted. You gave up your nothing to be with my everything. You brought nothing to this marriage except neediness and mediocrity. You're a burden, Maya. You always have been. I just took pity on you for longer than I should have. The words were designed to destroy her, and they did their job. Maya felt something inside her crack, something that had been holding her together through the years of Patricia's subtle insults, through Marcus's increasing distance, through the lonely nights when he claimed he was working late. She'd known, somewhere deep down, that this was coming. She'd felt it in the way he'd stopped touching her, stopped asking about her day, stopped looking at her with anything resembling affection. But she'd ignored the signs, told herself it was the stress of the pregnancy, that things would get better after the baby came. She'd been lying to herself. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, hating how small her voice sounded. "I don't have any money. You took everything." "Not my problem," Marcus said. "Figure it out. You're an adult, or call your parents. I'm sure they'd love to have their pregnant failure of a daughter move back in." Maya's mother had died 2 years ago. Cancer, fast and brutal. Her father had passed when she was 16. She had no siblings, no family except for her grandmother Victoria, her mother's mother, who died 6 months ago. "My family is dead," Maya said quietly. "You know that." "Then I guess you should have made more friends," Marcus replied coldly. 20 minutes now." Sienna walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and pulled out a bottle of champagne. The expensive kind Marcus kept for celebrations. She popped it open, poured 2 glasses, and handed one to Marcus. "To new beginnings," she said, clinking her glass against his. They drank while Maya stood 8 feet away, 8 months pregnant, homeless, and broken. The doorbell rang. Marcus frowned. "Who's that?" "Probably the courier," Sienna said. "I called them earlier. They're picking up Maya's things. Whatever she doesn't pack in time gets thrown away." Maya stared at her. "You called a trash service?" "Well, someone has to clean up the mess," Sienna said sweetly. "And I want to start redecorating tomorrow. The nursery colors are absolutely hideous. Who paints a baby's room yellow?" "It looks like a lemon exploded." Maya had painted that nursery herself, carefully choosing a soft butter yellow that was gender neutral and warm. She'd spent hours on it, her back aching, her feet swelling, while Marcus was presumably with Sienna. 15 minutes, Marcus said, checking his watch again. "Clock's ticking." Maya moved toward the bedroom, her body heavy and awkward, her daughter kicking inside her as if sensing her mother's distress. She grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing in clothes. Maternity jeans, oversized shirts, underwear, her grandmother's necklace that she kept in a jewelry box. Behind her, she heard Sienna laughing about something Marcus said. She heard the clink of champagne glasses. She heard them planning their future while she packed the fragments of her present. When she came back to the living room 15 minutes later, bag in hand, coat over her shoulders, Marcus was waiting by the door. "Keys," he said, holding out his hand. Maya pulled the keys from her purse, house key, mailbox key, the key to Marcus's car that she'd used for prenatal appointments. She dropped them in his palm. "Phone too," he said. "What?" "The phone plan is under my name. Company phone, company plan. It's not yours." "How am I supposed to?" "Not my problem." Maya pulled her phone from her pocket, the phone that held all her contacts, all her photos, everything. She handed it over, feeling like she was surrendering a piece of herself. Marcus took it. immediately powered it down, and tossed it on the counter. "Now get out." Maya picked up her bag, heavy with the few possessions she'd managed to grab, and walked toward the door. Each step felt like walking through cement. Her back ached. Her feet were swollen. Her daughter was kicking hard now, agitated by Maya's elevated heart rate. At the door, she turned back one last time. "I hope you're happy," she said. And she meant it. Not because she wished him well, but because she hoped that all this cruelty, all this calculated destruction, would at least give him the happiness he claimed to want. "I already am," Marcus said. Then he smiled. "Oh, and Maya? One more thing." She waited. "You're too poor to ever be someone's wife. You were always just practice, a placeholder until someone better came along. And Sienna?" He pulled Sienna close. "She's everything you're not. Successful, beautiful, and most importantly, she doesn't need me. She chose me. You just clung to me because you had nothing else." The door closed in her face. Maya stood in the hallway, alone, 8 months pregnant, with one duffel bag and nowhere to go. She pressed her hand to her belly. "It's okay, baby girl," she whispered. "We're going to be okay." But she didn't believe it. The rain was heavier now, and Maya didn't have an umbrella. She made her way to the elevator, rode down 32 floors, and stepped out into the December night. The cold hit her immediately, cutting through her thin coat like knives. She started walking, with no destination in mind, just moving because standing still felt like surrender. The streets of downtown Dallas were mostly empty at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. Cars passed, headlights blinding her, none stopping. Her phone buzzed in her. No, she didn't have her phone anymore. Maya reached into her coat pocket and felt something she'd forgotten was there. An envelope. It had arrived 3 days ago, addressed to her from a law firm. She'd set it aside, meaning to open it later, but with the stress of Marcus's increasing hostility and her approaching due date, she'd forgotten about it entirely. She pulled it out now, standing under a streetlight, rain soaking through her coat. The return address said, "Harrison and Associates, Attorneys at Law." Maya tore it open with numb fingers. Inside was a letter, formal and brief. "Dear Mrs. Chen, this letter serves as notification that you are the sole beneficiary of the estate of Victoria Margaret Chen, deceased. We have been attempting to contact you for several months regarding the distribution of assets. Due to the substantial nature of the estate and the specific instructions left by Mrs. Chen, we require your immediate attention to finalize these matters. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience. Time-sensitive materials await your signature. Sincerely, Robert Harrison, Senior Partner." Maya read it 3 times, her brain struggling to process the words. Victoria Chen, her grandmother. The woman who'd raised Maya's mother, who'd been kind but distant during Maya's childhood. Victoria had lived simply in a small house in Houston, worked as a bookkeeper for a shipping company, drove a 15-year-old Honda. Estate? What estate? Maya folded the letter, tucked it back in her pocket, and kept walking. She had bigger problems right now than some mysterious letter from a lawyer. She needed shelter. She needed food. She needed to figure out how to survive the next 24 hours. Behind her, in the penthouse she'd called home, Marcus and Sienna were toasting their future, laughing about the fat, pregnant woman they'd just thrown into the rain. They had no idea what was waiting in that letter. Neither did Maya. But in 6 weeks, at a Valentine's Day wedding that was supposed to celebrate Marcus's upgrade to a better life, everyone would find out. And the world would never be the same. Maya spent the first week learning to breathe again. The house, her house, became a sanctuary she'd never known she needed. Martha proved to be more than a housekeeper. She was a gentle presence who understood without asking questions. She brought Maya meals when she forgot to eat, made sure the house stayed warm, and spoke about Victoria in ways that made Maya's grandmother feel alive again. She used to sit in the library for hours, Martha said one afternoon, bringing Maya tea while she rested in the living room, reading financial reports like they were novels. She'd make notes in the margins, argue with the numbers. She said she could hear patterns in data the way musicians hear melodies. Maya was curled up on the sofa with her grandmother's journals, leather-bound books that Harrison had delivered, filled with Victoria's thoughts on business, life, and strategy. The handwriting was precise, the observations sharp. Men underestimate women who are quiet. They mistake silence for weakness. But silence is observation, and observation is power. When negotiating, never show your full hand. Let them think they've won, then reveal one more card. They'll panic, and panic makes people stupid. The best revenge is making them realize they destroyed themselves. You just provided the mirror. Page after page of wisdom, of battle-tested strategies from a woman who'd built an empire while men dismissed her as just a bookkeeper's widow. Maya's daughter kicked hard, and she pressed her hand to the spot. "Your great-grandmother was brilliant," she whispered, "and she made sure we'd never be vulnerable again." The first attorney meeting had been overwhelming. $4 billion was still an abstract concept. But the second meeting, 3 days later, began to make it real. Harrison brought 3 people with him. Catherine Zhao, a financial advisor who'd worked with Victoria for 15 years. Marcus Chen, no relation, a corporate attorney who specialized in protecting assets. And Dr. Rachel Kim, a forensic accountant who'd helped Victoria document Marcus Ashford's financial crimes. They sat around Maya's dining room table with laptops, folders, and the patience of people who'd seen this before. Wealthy heirs who needed education, not judgment. "First," Catherine said, pulling up a presentation on her laptop, "let's talk about what you actually have." She showed Maya a breakdown that made the numbers less terrifying by organizing them into categories. Liquid assets, immediate access, cash in various accounts, $87 million, money market funds, $156 million short-term bonds, $98 million total, $341 million immediately available. Investment portfolio, stocks, diversified, blue chip. $1.2 billion private equity stakes, $780 million venture capital investments, $340 million total, $2.32 billion in growth investments. Real estate holdings, Dallas property, current residence, $4.2 million Houston office building, $28 million. Los Angeles apartment complex, $43 million Miami beach house, $16 million New York penthouse, $31 million Seattle commercial property, $19 million. Various other properties, $127 million total, $268.2 million in real estate. Business interests, 15% stake in Pacific Maritime Group, $420 million, 12% stake in Chen. Technology, $198 million. Various other holdings, $284 million total, $902 million in active businesses. Other assets, art collection, $89 million jewelry and collectibles, $31 million, vintage car collection, $18 million, total, $138 million intangibles. The total comes to approximately $4.17 billion, Catherine concluded. But here's what matters. Your grandmother structured everything to generate income while preserving principal. You're earning about $8–10 million per month in passive income from dividends, rents, and interest. Maya stared at the screen. 8 to 10 million per month. Yes. Your grandmother never touched the principal. She lived off less than 5% of the income and reinvested the rest. That's how she turned 1.2 billion into 4 billion in 17 years. Dr. Kim pulled out another folder. Now, let's talk about what your husband stole and what we can prove. She spread documents across the table, bank statements, email printouts, photographs, surveillance logs. Marcus Ashford drained your joint account of $28,000 on December 15th at 6:07 a.m. We have the digital transfer records. He claimed the account was his, but both names were on it, making it marital property. In Texas, that's theft. She pointed to another document. He also removed your name from the penthouse lease on June 18th without your knowledge or consent. He forged your signature on the modification documents. That's fraud. Marcus Chen, the attorney, leaned forward. We also have evidence of his affair starting 8 months ago, documented through private investigators your grandmother hired. We have hotel receipts, restaurant charges, travel records, all while you were pregnant with his child. There's more, Dr. Kim continued. Marcus has been embezzling from his own company. Small amounts, $3,000 here, $5,000 there, but over 3 years it totals $180,000. He's been funneling it into accounts under his mother's name. Patricia is involved? Maya asked, though she wasn't surprised. Deeply. She's been making payments to Sienna Vale, $5,000 per month for 8 months. The payments are labeled consulting fees, but Sienna has never worked for Patricia or any Ashford company. We believe Patricia paid Sienna to seduce Marcus, to provide a better option so he'd leave you. Maya felt sick. The betrayal wasn't impulsive. It was calculated, purchased, orchestrated by a woman who'd smiled at Maya during family dinners while planning her destruction. What about the wedding? Maya asked quietly. Harrison pulled out his phone, showed her a screenshot from a wedding planning website. Marcus and Sienna have reserved the Grand Riverside Ballroom for February 14th. Capacity, 250 guests. They've booked catering from premier events, flowers from Bella Rosa, photography from Artistic Moments. Total estimated cost, $175,000. He doesn't have $175,000, Maya said. He stole $28,000 from me, but his salary is maybe $200,000 a year, and he already spends most of that. Correct, Dr. Kim said. He's borrowed $50,000 from his parents, maxed out 3 credit cards totaling $35,000, and taken a personal loan for $60,000 at 18% interest. He's drowning in debt to fund this wedding. Maya thought about Marcus's words. You're too poor to ever be someone's wife. The irony was staggering. Here's what I recommend, Harrison said, pulling out a strategic plan typed on his firm's letterhead. Your grandmother outlined several possible scenarios. The wedding confrontation was her favorite, but she left the choice to you. If you want to proceed, here's the timeline. He walked Maya through it step by step. Weeks 1-2, current. Learn about the inheritance, establish security, focus on health and baby's arrival. Week 3-4, give birth, recover, begin formal education on managing assets. Week 5-6, start strategic positioning, make select public appearances, begin purchasing assets that will become relevant later. Week 7-8, ramp up visibility, let whispers spread naturally about new money in Dallas society. Week 9-10, the wedding. Make entrance, deliver systematic revelations, provide evidence to all relevant parties. Exit while they deal with consequences. The key, Harrison said, is patience. Let Marcus think he's won. Let him spend money he doesn't have, make promises he can't keep, build a future on sand. Then, at the moment of his greatest triumph, show him reality. Maya looked at the plan, at the evidence spread across her table, at the faces of people who were ready to help her execute justice. "I want to do it," she said. "All of it. But I have questions." "Of course," Harrison said. "First, I'm giving birth in 3 weeks. How do I do this without Marcus knowing where I am?" "You'll use a private hospital wing under a different name," Catherine said. "I've already arranged it. The medical staff will be informed of the situation. Marcus won't be notified. After the birth, we'll file custody papers immediately, establishing you as the sole custodial parent." Second question. Marcus said he'd fight for custody. Can he? Marcus Chen, the attorney, shook his head firmly. Not successfully. He evicted a pregnant woman, stole marital assets, committed fraud, and engaged in an affair. Texas courts heavily favor mothers in custody cases anyway. But with this evidence, he'd be lucky to get supervised visitation once a month. More likely, he'll get nothing until the child is older and can decide for herself. Third question. The wedding. What exactly would I say? How would it work? Harrison smiled. That's where the justice protocol comes in. Your grandmother wrote several versions, depending on the scenario. Let me show you what she suggested for a wedding confrontation. He pulled out a document, and Maya began to read. Week 3. Birth and steel. Maya Chen went into labor on January 28th, 2 days before her due date. It started at 3 a.m. with contractions that felt like her body was trying to turn itself inside out. Martha called the private medical service immediately, and within 20 minutes, Maya was in a private ambulance heading to Presbyterian Hospital's exclusive medical wing, a floor reserved for high-profile patients who needed privacy. She was registered under the name Victoria Morrison, her grandmother's middle name combined with her mother's maiden name. No record would connect to Maya Chen or Maya Ashford. As far as Marcus knew, his pregnant ex-wife had vanished. The labor lasted 14 hours. 14 hours of pain that felt like punishment for every moment of weakness she'd ever shown. Every time she'd made herself small, every instant she'd apologized for taking up space. But when the nurse placed her daughter in her arms at 5:23 p.m., everything else fell away. "She's perfect," the doctor said, smiling. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Completely healthy. Maya looked down at her daughter, tiny, red-faced, screaming with lungs that worked perfectly, and felt something fierce and protective lock into place in her chest. "Grace," Maya whispered. It had been her mother's middle name, her grandmother's choice. Grace Victoria Chen. Not Ashford. Chen. The nurse noted it on the birth certificate without question. Martha arrived an hour later with flowers and tears. "Miss Victoria would be so proud," she said, looking at the baby. "She has your grandmother's chin. That stubborn Chen chin." Harrison arrived the next morning with papers for Maya to sign. Custody documents, legal name registration, trust fund establishment. Grace Victoria Chen would never want for anything. Before she was 24 hours old, she had a trust fund worth $100 million, growing at 7% annually. "Marcus?" Maya asked, holding Grace while she nursed. "Still has no idea," Harrison confirmed. "We're monitoring his accounts and communications. He hasn't tried to contact you, hasn't filed a missing person report, hasn't shown any concern about your whereabouts or the baby's well-being." "Good," Maya said coldly. "Let him forget we exist. It'll make what's coming more painful." Over the next 2 weeks, Maya recovered in the hospital's private wing. Her body healed, her milk came in, Grace thrived, eating, sleeping, growing stronger each day. And Maya used every quiet moment to study, Catherine visited daily, bringing financial reports and teaching Maya to read them. This column shows quarterly earnings for your tech investments. This one shows real estate appreciation. This shows dividend income. Dr. Kim brought transcripts of Marcus's phone calls, obtained legally through discovery process for the custody case. Maya listened to Marcus and Sienna discussing the wedding, complaining about costs, talking about starting fresh. One conversation made Maya's blood boil. "Marcus, I'm glad we're past all that baby drama. Can you imagine if I'd stayed? I'd be changing diapers and listening to crying all night." "Sienna, you dodged a bullet. Maya would have been one of those mothers who lets themselves go completely. You'd have been stuck with a fat wife and screaming kid." "Marcus, instead, I'm marrying you. Best decision I ever made." Maya saved that recording. It would be useful later. When Grace was 2 weeks old, Maya stood in front of the full-length mirror in her hospital room and assessed herself honestly. She'd gained 45 pounds during pregnancy. She'd lost 18 during labor and the immediate aftermath. She had 27 pounds left to lose. Plus, she wanted to get stronger, more toned, more visibly transformed. She called Catherine. "I need a personal trainer. Someone who understands postpartum fitness and can work with me at home." "I'll have someone there tomorrow," Catherine promised. The trainer's name was Tasha Morrison, a former Olympic athlete who specialized in postpartum training. She arrived at Maya's house 3 days after Maya and Grace came home, took one look at Maya's determination, and smiled. "Your grandmother hired me 2 months before she died," Tasha said. "She told me she had a granddaughter who might need help getting strong. Not skinny, strong. She was very specific about that." "Victoria hired you?" Maya was still discovering ways her grandmother had protected her from beyond the grave. "She paid me a year in advance. Said if you never needed me, that was fine. But if you did, I should help you become the strongest version of yourself." Tasha pulled out a training plan. "So let's get started." They began slowly. Postpartum bodies needed gentleness, but consistently. 30 minutes of walking each day while Martha watched Grace. Light weights in the home gym Victoria had installed. Core exercises to rebuild abdominal strength. Stretching to release tension. "Don't focus on the scale," Tasha advised. "Focus on how you feel. Strong, capable, powerful." But Maya did watch the scale. By week 4, she had lost 25 pounds total. By week 5, 30 pounds. The combination of breastfeeding, which burned 500 calories a day, clean eating, and consistent training was transforming her body rapidly. More importantly, it was transforming her mind. Every workout was a reminder that she was capable. Every pound lost was armor gained. Every day, stronger was a day closer to facing Marcus. Week 4 to 6, education and strategic planning. 1 month after Grace's birth, Maya sat in a conference room in Harrison's office with her full team assembled. Harrison, Catherine, Dr. Kim, Marcus Chen, the attorney, and 3 new additions, a media consultant named Julian Black, an etiquette coach named Vivian DuPont, and a private investigator named Alex Torres. "This is your war council," Harrison said simply. "If you're going to walk into that wedding and destroy them publicly, you need to do it perfectly. No mistakes, no legal vulnerabilities, no room for them to twist the narrative." Julian Black pulled up a presentation. He was young, maybe 35, with sharp eyes and the energy of someone who understood social dynamics, like chess moves. "Here's the situation," he began. "Marcus and Sienna's wedding is in 4 weeks. They've sent out invitations to 250 people. Dallas society, business contacts, family friends. It's black tie, formal, expensive. They're positioning it as the social event of February. He showed screenshots from Sienna's social media. She's been documenting everything. The dress fittings, the cake tastings, the venue tours. She's building a narrative of the perfect wedding, the perfect couple, the perfect life. Meanwhile, he continued, pulling up different images. You're a ghost. No one knows where you are, what you're doing, whether you even had the baby. Marcus has been telling people you couldn't handle the marriage and moved back to your hometown. I don't have a hometown, Maya said. My parents are dead. He knows this. He's rewriting history, Julian said, making you smaller in the story so he looks better. Classic narcissist behavior. Vivian DuPont, the etiquette coach, leaned forward. She was in her 60s, elegant and sharp. If you're going to appear at this wedding, you can't look like someone begging to be taken back. You need to look like someone who's moved on and up. Someone who makes them question everything. We have 4 weeks, Maya said. What do I need to learn? Everything, Vivian said simply. Your grandmother moved in elite circles. You're about to join them. That means knowing how to carry yourself, how to speak, how to command attention without demanding it. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya's days became structured around transformation. 6:00 a.m., 7:00 a.m., training with Tasha, cardio, weights, core work, 7:00 a.m., 8:30 a.m., breakfast, grace time, nursing, 8:30 a.m., 12:00 p.m., business education with Catherine, investment strategy, portfolio management, corporate governance, 12:00 p.m., 1:00 p.m., lunch, grace time, 1:00 p.m., 3:00 p.m., legal education with Marcus Chen, custody law, asset protection, civil litigation, 3:00 p.m., 5:00 p.m., etiquette and social coaching with Vivian, posture, presence, conversation, 5:00 p.m., 7:00 p.m., grace time, dinner, family, 9:00 p.m., 9:00 p.m., strategy sessions, evidence review, speech preparation. It was exhausting. Maya collapsed into bed each night feeling like she'd run a marathon. But she was also coming alive in ways she'd never experienced. Each day she was stronger, smarter, more confident. Alex Torres, the investigator, brought updates weekly. Marcus borrowed another $15,000 last week. His total wedding debt is now $145,000. His parents are tapped out. They've given him everything they can. He's desperate. What about Sienna? Maya asked. She's demanding more. Upgraded the flowers, wants a live band instead of a DJ. Insisted on a honeymoon in Bora Bora. She's spending money like it's infinite. Marcus is panicking, but can't say no to her. Maya smiled coldly. Good. Let them dig deeper. By week 5, Maya had lost 35 pounds total. Her body was lean and strong. Her face had definition again. Cheekbones, jawline, features that had been hidden under pregnancy weight. She was still nursing Grace, but her body had adjusted to the demands. More importantly, she was learning to see herself differently. Not as Marcus's discarded wife, but as Victoria Chen's granddaughter. Not as someone's victim, but as someone's heir. It's time for Phase 2, Harrison said during a strategy meeting. Public emergence. We need to start planting seeds, letting the right people know you exist. Catherine pulled out a list. There are 3 charity events in the next 2 weeks that would be perfect. They're high profile enough to get noticed, but not so large that you'd be overwhelmed. I can get you invitations to all 3. What kind of events? Maya asked. Next Tuesday is a Children's Hospital gala. Thursday is an Arts Foundation dinner. And next week is the Dallas Women's Business Alliance luncheon. That one's particularly relevant since your grandmother was a founding member. I didn't know that. There's a lot about your grandmother that's about to become public, Catherine said. The business community knew who Victoria Chen was. They just didn't know she had a granddaughter who inherited everything. When you appear at these events, people will make connections. Vivian added, and we need to control your first impression. Your wardrobe, your styling, everything needs to communicate power and purpose. You're not there to blend in. You're there to be noticed. They went shopping. Though calling it shopping was like calling a military operation a field trip. Vivian brought Maya to private showrooms where designers brought pieces specifically for her. Not trendy, not flashy, elegant, timeless, powerful, a midnight blue evening gown for the hospital gala. A tailored cream suit for the business luncheon. A deep emerald dress for the arts dinner. Each one fit perfectly, tailored to her new body, designed to command attention. When you walk into a room, Vivian instructed, you don't rush. You don't apologize with your body language. You enter like you have every right to be there. Because you do. Head up, shoulders back, make eye contact. Let them come to you. They practiced in Maya's living room. Walking, standing, sitting, all the micro movements that communicated confidence without arrogance. Your grandmother had this mastered, Vivian said. I saw her once at a charity event 20 years ago. She was the quietest person in the room, but everyone was aware of her. She had gravity. Maya wanted that. Not to intimidate, but to never be invisible again. Week 7. First public appearance. The Dallas Children's Hospital Gala was held at the Ritz-Carlton on a Tuesday evening in late January. Maya arrived alone, by choice. Harrison had offered to accompany her, but Maya knew this needed to be solo. She needed to prove to herself she could do this. James, her driver, now permanently employed, dropped her at the entrance. She stepped out of the Mercedes, wearing the midnight blue gown, her hair styled in an elegant updo. Victoria's jade bracelet on her wrist. Cameras flashed. The gala was covered by local society press, and anyone arriving was photographed for the paper's social pages. Maya walked up the steps slowly, confidently, ignoring the cameras while being perfectly aware of them. Inside, the ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, round tables set with gold-rimmed china, a stage where a jazz trio played softly. Name? The check-in volunteer asked. Maya Chen, she said clearly. The volunteer scanned her list, found the name, and her eyes widened slightly. Oh, welcome, Ms. Chen. You're at table 8. She paused. Are you related to Victoria Chen? She was my grandmother. The volunteer's hand went to her mouth. Oh my goodness. We didn't know she had family. Your grandmother was so generous to this hospital. She funded the entire pediatric oncology wing. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you, Maya said, and meant it. She found table 8. The placard next to her name read, Maya Chen, Chen Foundation, Chen Foundation. Maya made a mental note to ask Harrison about that later. She sat down carefully, placed her clutch on the table, and surveyed the room. About 300 people, mostly couples, all wealthy, all comfortable in this world. Once upon a time, Maya would have felt out of place. Marcus had always made sure she knew she didn't truly belong in these spaces. Now, she owned buildings worth more than everyone in this room combined. Excuse me, a woman's voice said. Maya looked up to find an elegant woman in her 50s standing beside the table. I'm Jennifer Hartwell. I sit on the hospital board. I just wanted to introduce myself and tell you how much your grandmother meant to this organization. She was extraordinary. Thank you, Maya said, gesturing to the empty seat. Please join me. Jennifer sat, and within minutes, 3 other board members came over. They shared stories about Victoria, her sharp business sense, her quiet generosity, her insistence that donations be used efficiently. She never wanted recognition, one man said. The oncology wing is officially the Morrison wing because she refused to have her own name on it. Said her mother's maiden name was good enough. Morrison, Maya's middle name given by her mother. As the evening progressed, Maya found herself relaxing into conversations about the hospital's programs, the challenges of pediatric care, the importance of research funding. She wasn't performing. She genuinely cared. She'd spent 3 weeks in a hospital with her newborn, had seen children fighting for their lives in nearby rooms. When it came time for the donation portion of the evening, board members made appeals for specific programs. Maya listened carefully as they described a new program for supporting families of sick children, transportation, lodging, meals while their children underwent treatment. The goal was to raise $300,000. Maya waited until the appeals were finished, then raised her hand. The auctioneer acknowledged her. "I'd like to pledge $500,000 to that program," Maya said clearly. "In honor of my grandmother, Victoria Chen, and in memory of my mother, Jennifer Morrison Chen." The room went silent. Then applause erupted. The board chairwoman rushed over afterward. "Ms. Chen, that's incredibly generous. We'll make sure—" "I have one condition," Maya interrupted gently. "The program should be called Morrison's Promise. My grandmother believed in helping families survive the unsurvivable. I'd like to continue that legacy." "Of course," the chairwoman said, tears in her eyes. "We'd be honored." The rest of the evening, people came to Maya's table, introducing themselves, thanking her, sharing memories of Victoria. Maya collected business cards, made connections, let people see her. She left at 10 p.m., having accomplished exactly what she needed. Dallas society now knew Victoria Chen had an heir, and that heir had just made a $500,000 donation without blinking. The society page the next morning featured a photo of Maya. Elegant, composed, powerful, with the caption, "Mystery Heiress, Maya Chen, granddaughter of late business icon Victoria Chen, makes stunning debut with $500,000 donation." Catherine called at 8 a.m. "Have you seen the papers?" "I have," Maya said, nursing Grace while reading the article. "Your phone's going to start ringing. Charity requests, business proposals, social invitations. Everyone's going to want to know who you are." "Good," Maya said. "That's the point." "There's more," Catherine said, her voice shifting. "Someone forwarded the article to several people, including Marcus Ashford's mother." Maya felt a spike of satisfaction. "Patricia saw it? And she's panicking." Alex intercepted her phone call to Marcus this morning. "Want to hear it?" "Absolutely." Catherine played the recording. "Patricia. Marcus, who is Maya Chen? There's a photo of her in the society pages donating $500,000 to the Children's Hospital." Marcus. "What? That's impossible. Maya doesn't have money. She's—" "Wait, Chen? That was her maiden name before we got married. Why would she be using him?" "Patricia. It says she's the granddaughter of Victoria Chen, the Victoria Chen who owned Chen Global Shipping." Marcus. "Maya's grandmother was just a bookkeeper. She lived in a tiny house. There's no way." Patricia. "The article says Victoria Chen sold her company for over $1 billion in 2008. Marcus, did you know about this?" Marcus. "No." Maya never said anything about her grandmother having money. She would have told me. This must be a different Maya Chen. Patricia. The photo shows her wearing a jade bracelet I recognize. I told Maya not to wear it to family events because it looked cheap. Marcus, I think you made a terrible mistake. The recording ended. Maya smiled. He still doesn't believe it. He can't, Catherine said. Accepting it would mean accepting that he threw away a multi-billion-dollar inheritance. His brain won't process it until he's forced to face it directly. 3 more weeks, Maya said. Then he'll have no choice. Week 8. Systematic positioning. The second event, the Dallas Women's Business Alliance Luncheon, was even more strategic. This wasn't a charity gala where wealthy people wrote checks. This was a gathering of women who owned businesses, ran corporations, made decisions that affected thousands of employees. Victoria Chen had been a founding member. Now Maya would take her place. Maya wore the cream-tailored suit Vivian had selected, her hair down in soft waves, minimal jewelry except for Victoria's bracelet. She looked professional, powerful, and younger than most of the women in the room, which was exactly the statement they needed to make. Maya Chen? The executive director approached immediately. I'm Barbara Norton. Your grandmother was one of my mentors. I can't tell you what an honor it is to have you here. The honor is mine, Maya said. I'm just beginning to understand everything my grandmother built. Barbara walked Maya through the room, introducing her to CEOs, founders, board members. Each woman had a story about Victoria, a piece of advice she'd given, a connection she'd made, a crisis she'd helped solve. Your grandmother once told me, said the CEO of a logistics company, that the key to negotiation is knowing what the other person needs more than what they're willing to offer. She was right. Changed how I run my entire business. During lunch, the keynote speaker discussed women breaking barriers in male-dominated industries. Maya listened, thinking about Victoria navigating shipping companies in the 1980s, dealing with men who thought women couldn't understand maritime law or trade routes. After the speech, Barbara invited Maya to say a few words. Maya stood, her heart racing, but her voice steady. I didn't know my grandmother well. That's one of my greatest regrets. But I'm learning about her now, through the stories you've shared, through the businesses she built, through the legacy she left. She paused, making eye contact with women around the room. My grandmother taught me, even from beyond death, that power isn't given. It's built. One decision at a time, one risk at a time, one moment of refusing to be small at a time. Recently, someone told me I was too poor to be someone's wife, that I had nothing to offer, that I was worthless. Maya's voice was calm, factual. He didn't know that while he was saying those words, I'd already inherited one of the largest private fortunes in Texas. He didn't know because he'd never bothered to learn who I actually was. The room was absolutely silent. I'm here today not for revenge, but for recognition. Recognition that women who are underestimated have always been the ones who change the world. My grandmother proved that, and I intend to continue her work. She sat down to thunderous applause. Afterward, women lined up to talk to her. Business proposals, collaboration offers, invitations to join boards and initiatives. Maya collected information, promised to follow up, and made it clear. She wasn't just Victoria's granddaughter. She was building something of her own. The society pages the next day featured another photo. Power player. Maya Chen addresses business leaders, pledges to continue grandmother's legacy. More importantly, the business press picked it up. Articles appeared in the Dallas Business Journal, the Houston Chronicle, Even a brief mention in the Wall Street Journal. Shipping fortune heir emerges in Dallas. By Thursday, Maya's phone was ringing constantly with interview requests, business proposals, and charity appeals. Catherine helped her screen them, accepting the legitimate ones and declining the opportunistic. Marcus called his mother again, Alex reported during their weekly update. He's Googling you obsessively. Found the articles, the photos, everything. But he's still in denial. What's he saying? Alex played the recording. Marcus. It has to be someone else. Maya would have told me if her grandmother was rich. She wouldn't have kept that secret. Sienna. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe the grandmother hid it. Marcus. For 5 years? No, this is a different Maya Chen. It has to be. Patricia. Marcus, the photo shows the bracelet. The same one that girl wore to your rehearsal dinner. I told her it was inappropriate. Marcus. Stop calling her that girl. She was my wife. Patricia. And now someone who looks exactly like her and has the same name is donating millions of dollars and joining elite boards. Marcus, you need to find her. You need to find out if this is actually her. Marcus. How? I don't know where she is. She could be anywhere. Sienna. Why does it matter? You're marrying me in 2 weeks. Who cares about your ex-wife? Marcus. If that's actually Maya, if she actually inherited billions. Sienna, I drained her bank account and kicked her out while she was pregnant. If she has that kind of money and wants revenge, Sienna, she won't. She's too weak. You said so yourself. But Marcus's voice was uncertain now. I hope you're right. Maya listened to the recording twice, savoring the fear creeping into Marcus's voice. He was beginning to understand, but not fully. Not yet. Keep monitoring, Maya told Alex. I want to know every conversation, every search, every moment of panic. Already on it, Alex confirmed. Week 9, the final transformation. 2 weeks before the wedding, Maya stood in front of her mirror and assessed herself honestly. She'd lost 40 pounds since Grace's birth. Her body was lean and strong, not model thin, but powerful. She could do 50 push-ups without stopping, could run 3 miles without gasping. Tasha had transformed her into someone who looked like she could handle anything thrown at her. Because she could. But more than physical transformation, Maya had transformed mentally. She'd learned to read financial statements like novels. She understood corporate governance, investment strategy, real estate management. She could walk into a boardroom and command respect. Vivian had taught her to dress like someone who owned the world, to speak with authority without aggression, to make eye contact without staring, to enter rooms like she'd been invited by destiny itself. You're ready, Harrison said during their final strategy meeting. The question is, what exactly do you want to achieve at this wedding? Maya pulled out her notebook, the one where she'd been writing her speech, revising it, perfecting it over weeks of practice. I want them to know the truth, Maya said. All of it. Marcus's theft, Patricia's payments to Sienna, the affair timeline, the financial fraud. I want every person in that ballroom to understand exactly who they're celebrating. That's going to destroy them, Julian warned. Socially, professionally, personally. I know. There's no coming back from this kind of exposure, Marcus Chen added. Marcus will lose his business. Patricia will become a pariah in Dallas society. Sienna's reputation will be permanently damaged. I know, Maya repeated. And I'm okay with that. They destroyed me when I was vulnerable and pregnant. They called me worthless. They laughed while I walked into a blizzard with nothing. This isn't cruelty. It's consequences. Harrison nodded slowly. Then, let's finalize the plan. They spent the next 4 hours going over every detail. The entrance? Maya would arrive exactly 30 minutes after the ceremony was scheduled to begin. She wouldn't disrupt the vows. That would look petty. She'd enter during the cocktail hour, after photos, but before the reception officially started. 2 security guards would accompany her, discreetly positioned. Harrison would be with her, carrying the evidence folders. The presentation. Maya would be announced by name when entering, standard for formal events. She'd walk directly to the head table where Marcus and Sienna would be sitting. She'd project calm, not anger. Power, not desperation. She'd request 5 minutes of the microphone, then she'd deliver the truth, the evidence. Alex had prepared 10 screens that would display during her speech. Screen 1, Marcus and Sienna's affair timeline, 8 months, not 6. Screen 2, Marcus draining the joint account, transaction records. Screen 3, Patricia's payments to Sienna, $40,000 total. Screen 4, Marcus's embezzlement records, $180,000 from his company. Screen 5, the text messages between Patricia and Marcus planning the divorce. Screen 6, Marcus's real debt situation, $145,000 for this wedding. Screen 7, the eviction, security camera footage from the penthouse. Screen 8, Maya's inheritance, Forbes article that would publish that morning. Screen 9, Victoria Chen's legacy, business profile. Screen 10, Grace Victoria Chen's birth certificate, showing Marcus never inquired about his daughter. The exit. Maya would deliver her closing statement, turn and leave without waiting for response. Harrison would hand legal notice to Marcus, custody papers, theft charges. Security would ensure she left safely. Her car would be waiting at a side entrance. "This is war," Harrison said quietly. "Are you sure?" Maya thought about lying in a hospital bed alone, giving birth to a daughter whose father didn't care enough to ask if she'd survived. She thought about walking through rain while 8 months pregnant with nowhere to go. She thought about Marcus laughing while Sienna spat on her. "I'm sure," she said. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya made strategic moves. She purchased a 40% stake in the company that was Marcus's biggest client. $18 million for controlling interest. The CEO, thrilled to have a Chen as an investor, agreed to Maya's one condition: terminate their contract with Ashford Solutions, effective immediately. Marcus lost 40% of his company's revenue in one phone call. She bought the building that housed his company's offices, became his landlord, sent notice that the lease would not be renewed. She discovered that the Grand Riverside Ballroom, the wedding venue, was actually owned by a subsidiary of a company Victoria had invested in. Maya now controlled that company. She owned the venue where Marcus was getting married. The irony was poetic. "One more thing," Catherine said during their final meeting. "Your grandmother set up the Chen Foundation years ago, but never activated it. She left instructions for you to launch it when you felt ready. What if you announced the foundation at the wedding? Made it part of your statement?" Maya considered it. "What would the foundation do?" "Whatever you want. But your grandmother suggested supporting women leaving abusive relationships, funding shelters, providing legal assistance and financial education, helping women survive the unsurvivable." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Victoria had thought of everything. "Let's do it," she said. "The Chen Foundation. Initial endowment, $50 million. By the evening before the wedding, Maya was ready. She'd practiced her speech until she could deliver it in her sleep. She'd chosen her dress, a deep burgundy gown that was sophisticated, powerful, and absolutely stunning. She'd arranged for Grace to stay with Martha, with backup staff and security. She'd transformed from a woman who'd been discarded into a woman who was about to rewrite the rules. That night, unable to sleep, Maya sat in the nursery holding Grace. Her daughter was 6 weeks old now, healthy and perfect and completely unaware of the storm about to break. "Your father doesn't know you exist," Maya whispered. "He threw us away before you were born. But tomorrow, he's going to learn what he lost. Not just me, not just you, but any chance he ever had at being someone worth respecting." Grace made a small sound and wrapped her tiny hand around Maya's finger. "The Chen women are strong," Maya continued, echoing her grandmother's words. "We wait, we watch, we plan. And when the moment is right, we show them exactly who we are." She thought about Victoria, about the empire built from nothing, about the protection offered from beyond the grave. She thought about her mother, Jennifer, who died too young and never got to meet her granddaughter. She thought about all the women who'd been told they were too much or not enough, who'd been discarded and dismissed and destroyed by men who couldn't handle their power. Tomorrow was for all of them. "Let's show them," Maya said to Grace, to Victoria's ghost, to herself. "Let's show them what happens when you underestimate a Chen woman." Outside, snow was beginning to fall. Tomorrow was Valentine's Day, and Marcus Ashford's wedding was about to become the most expensive mistake of his life. The stage was set. The evidence was prepared. The moment was approaching. Marcus Ashford stood at the altar thinking he'd traded up, never suspecting that his old life was about to return for him with 4 billion reasons why he'd made a catastrophic mistake. And Maya? Maya was ready to give him a Valentine's Day gift he'd never forget. The truth. The morning before Valentine's Day dawned cold and bright. The kind of perfect February morning that felt like the universe conspiring to create ideal conditions for destiny. Maya woke at 5 a.m., not from anxiety, but from readiness. Grace was still sleeping, her small chest rising and falling with the peaceful rhythm of someone who had no idea her mother was about to change their lives forever. Maya went through her morning routine with the precision of a soldier preparing for battle. 30 minutes with Tasha. Cardio and stretching to burn off excess adrenaline, shower, hair wash. Breakfast that she forced herself to eat, even though her stomach was tight with anticipation. At 7 a.m., her phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. "Forbes article just went live. It's perfect." Maya opened the link. "The billionaire you've never heard of. How Victoria Chen built a 4 billion empire in secret," by Sarah Mitchell, senior editor. In the male-dominated world of international shipping, one woman quietly built an empire that would make most Fortune 500 CEOs envious. Victoria Chen, who died 6 months ago at age 73, left behind a fortune of $417 billion and a granddaughter no one knew existed. Maya Chen, 29, has emerged in recent weeks as the sole heir to Victoria's carefully protected wealth. The younger Chen has already made waves in Dallas society with substantial charitable donations and strategic business moves that suggest she inherited more than just money from her grandmother. She inherited business acumen. The article continued for 3,000 words, detailing Victoria's rise from bookkeeper to shipping magnate, her quiet investment genius, her deliberately simple lifestyle, and her granddaughter's sudden emergence into public life. There were photos. Victoria in boardrooms, Maya at the charity gala, side-by-side comparisons showing the family resemblance. The jade bracelet was mentioned specifically. The antique jade bracelet Maya Chen wears publicly once belonged to her great-great-grandmother and is estimated to be worth $350,000, more than many people's annual salary. The comments section was already exploding. How did no one know about this woman? That granddaughter is stunning and brilliant. Meanwhile, my grandmother left me a set of dishes. Lol. The fact that she lived so simply despite being worth billions, that's real class. Maya saved the article, sent it to her team, and then checked her other messages. Catherine. Every major news outlet is picking this up. By noon, everyone in Dallas will know who you are. Julian. Perfect timing. They'll all Google you before the wedding tonight. Alex. Marcus just saw the article. Recording his reaction now. 10 minutes later, Alex sent the audio file. Marcus, voice shaking. This can't be real. This can't be fucking real. Sienna. What? Marcus, what's wrong? Marcus. Maya, my ex-wife Maya, The Forbes article says she inherited $4 billion. Billion! With a B. Sienna. That's impossible. She was broke. She had nothing. Marcus. I know what she had. I was there. She lived in our penthouse. She didn't work. She had no money of her own. Sienna. So it's not her. It's a different Maya Chen. Marcus. The photo, Sienna. It's her. Thinner, but it's definitely her. And she's wearing that fucking bracelet my mother said was cheap costume jewelry. Except the article says it's worth $350,000. Patricia, in the background, must have just arrived. Marcus, I told you. Yesterday to find her. Marcus. She inherited from her grandmother. The grandmother I met twice. The old woman who lived in a tiny house and drove a shitty car. That woman was secretly worth billions, and I had no idea. Sienna. Well, it doesn't matter now. We're getting married today. She's your ex-wife. Who cares how much money she has? Marcus. Who cares? Sienna, I stole $28,000 from her. I kicked her out while she was pregnant. If she wants revenge, if she has the resources for revenge. Patricia. Did she have the baby? Has anyone heard if she had the baby? Marcus. I don't know. I don't even know where she is. Sienna. Stop panicking. So she has money now. So what? She's probably moved on. She's not going to show up at our wedding like some jilted ex-wife in a movie. That's pathetic. But Marcus's voice was hollow. I really hope you're right. Maya listened to the recording 3 times, memorizing every tremor in Marcus's voice, every note of panic, every moment of dawning realization. He was beginning to understand, but he had no idea how bad it was about to get. Preparation. At 2 p.m., the transformation team arrived at Maya's house. Hairstylist. Roberto, who'd worked with Victoria for decades and wept when he saw Maya. You look so much like her, especially around the eyes. Strong eyes. Chen eyes. Makeup artist. Leah, who specialized in creating looks that photographed perfectly under any lighting condition. Wardrobe consultant. Vivian, who brought the dress in a garment bag like it was made of diamonds. They worked in Maya's bedroom while Grace napped in the nursery with Martha and 2 backup nannies. Security had been tripled. 6 guards positioned around the property, 2 monitoring cameras, 1 coordinating with the team that would accompany Maya to the wedding. Roberto worked on Maya's hair first, creating an elegant updo that was sophisticated and timeless. Not trendy, not trying too hard. Just perfect. He wove small pins set with tiny diamonds throughout the style, catching light with every movement. Your grandmother loved these pins, Roberto said softly. She wore them to important meetings. Said they reminded her that even small things can shine under the right circumstances. Leah approached makeup with an artist's eye. She didn't make Maya look like someone else. She enhanced what was already there. Defined cheekbones, smoky eyes that were dramatic but not harsh. Lips in a deep wine color that complemented the dress. You're not pretty, Leah said, studying her work. "You're formidable. There's a difference." At 4 p.m., Vivian helped Maya into the dress. It was burgundy silk, custom made by a designer who'd worked with Victoria. The cut was perfect. Fitted through the bodice, flowing at the hips, with a subtle train that added drama without being excessive. The neckline was elegant. The back was open in a way that was sensual without being sexual. It cost $28,000, the exact amount Marcus had stolen from her. That was deliberate. Vivian fastened Victoria's jade bracelet on Maya's wrist, then added matching jade earrings. Smaller, subtle, but clearly part of a set. "One more thing," Vivian said, pulling out a final box. Inside was a necklace. Simple, elegant, with a pendant that was a single word in delicate script. "Grace. Your grandmother had this made 3 months before she died," Vivian explained. "She knew you were pregnant. She wanted you to have something that connected you to your daughter. Something you could wear and feel strong." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. Leah had used waterproof makeup, but crying would ruin the effect. "Thank you," Maya whispered, letting Vivian fasten the necklace. "For everything. For helping her. For helping me." At 5 p.m., Maya stood in front of her full-length mirror and saw someone she didn't quite recognize. Not because she looked different, though she did, dramatically, but because she looked like someone who belonged in her own life. Someone who wasn't apologizing for existing. Someone who'd earned every inch of space she occupied. "Your grandmother would be so proud," Roberto said, his voice thick with emotion. Maya touched the jade bracelet, the necklace, the pins in her hair. Pieces of Victoria, pieces of Grace, pieces of herself, all woven together. "Let's show them," she said quietly. The arrival. The grand riverside ballroom was stunning. Marcus and Sienna had spared no expense. Or rather, they'd gone into massive debt to create the illusion of expense. White flowers covered every surface. Crystal chandeliers threw rainbow light across marble floors. Candles flickered on tables set with gold-rimmed china. A string quartet played near the ceremony space. 250 guests had arrived for the 6 p.m. ceremony. Dallas society, business associates, college friends, distant relatives. Everyone dressed in their finest, prepared to celebrate love and new beginnings and all the pretty lies people tell themselves at weddings. The ceremony had been beautiful, by all accounts. Sienna in a $15,000 dress, Marcus in a custom tuxedo. Vows exchanged, rings given, kiss completed. The assembled crowd had applauded as if witnessing something meaningful rather than something built on fraud and cruelty. Now, at 6:45 p.m., guests were in the cocktail hour, champagne flowing, canapés circulating, conversation humming with the energy of people determined to have a good time. Marcus stood near the bar with his best man, Daniel, trying to relax. But his eyes kept darting to his phone, checking news alerts, refreshing Google searches for Maya's name. "Dude, put the phone away," Daniel said. "You're married now. Whatever's happening with your ex-wife doesn't matter." "You didn't see the Forbes article," Marcus muttered. "She inherited billions, Dan. Billions! From a grandmother who lived like she was on welfare." "How did I not know?" "Because she didn't tell you. Not your fault, but..." Marcus's expression said he knew exactly whose fault it was. Sienna floated over, champagne in hand, her face flushed with happiness and alcohol. "There's my husband," she cooed, kissing his cheek. "Why do you look so serious? This is the happiest day of our lives." "I'm fine," Marcus lied. "Just tired from all the planning." Patricia Ashford materialized beside them, elegant in a mother-of-the-groom dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. But her eyes were tight with worry. Marcus, we need to talk, she said quietly. About your ex-wife. Not now, Mother. Yes, now. I've been making phone calls. People who know people. Maya Chen has been very active in the past 2 weeks. She's joined 3 charitable boards, made substantial donations, and this morning she purchased a 40% stake in Tech Vision Solutions. Marcus frowned. So, why do I care about some tech company? Because Tech Vision is your biggest client, Patricia said, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. The client that accounts for 40% of your revenue. Marcus, she owns them now. She's your client's majority shareholder. The color drained from Marcus's face. No, that's... Why would she do that? Why do you think? Patricia hissed. You humiliated her. You stole from her. You threw her out pregnant. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? Sienna's smile faltered. She wouldn't actually do anything. Not at our wedding. That would be crazy. Let's hope you're right, Patricia said coldly. Then she walked away, her posture rigid with controlled panic. At exactly 7 p.m., the ballroom doors opened. The venue coordinator stepped in, her expression confused and slightly flustered. She whispered something to the event planner, who immediately pulled out his phone and made a call. Marcus watched with growing dread. Something was wrong. He could feel it. The coordinator approached the head table where Marcus and Sienna sat. Mr. Ashford, I need to inform you that we have an unexpected guest. She's on the approved list, but wasn't expected to attend. The original RSVP was declined. Who? Marcus asked, his voice tight. Before the coordinator could answer, the ballroom doors opened fully, and Maya Chen walked in. The entrance time seemed to slow. Maya entered the ballroom flanked by 2 security guards in subtle suits and Harrison carrying a leather briefcase. But it was Maya who commanded every eye. The burgundy dress caught light like liquid fire. The jade jewelry gleamed against her skin. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. Her posture was that of someone who owned not just the room, but the entire building. Which, technically, she did, but more than her appearance, it was her energy. She radiated calm, controlled power. Not anger. Anger would have been weak. This was something else, something infinitely more dangerous. She walked down the center aisle between cocktail tables, her heels clicking on marble with the rhythm of a countdown. Heads turned, conversations stopped. Champagne glasses paused halfway to lips. Someone near the back whispered, "Is that Maya Chen? The Forbes billionaire?" Someone else, "What's she doing here?" A third voice, "Oh my God, she's Marcus's ex-wife." The whispers spread like wildfire, jumping from cluster to cluster, until the entire ballroom was buzzing with realization. Marcus stood so abruptly his chair scraped backward, the sound echoing through the suddenly quiet space. Maya stopped 15 feet from the head table, her eyes locked on Marcus. Not Sienna, not Patricia, just Marcus. For 5 full seconds, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then Maya smiled. It wasn't warm, it wasn't friendly. It was the smile of someone who'd been patient for 8 weeks and was about to be rewarded for that patience. "Hello, Marcus," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the silent ballroom. "Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm sorry I'm late. I hope I didn't miss anything important." Marcus's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. Sienna recovered first, standing quickly. "What are you doing here? You're not welcome. Actually, Maya interrupted gently. I'm more welcome than you might think. You see, I own this building. She let that sink in for 3 seconds. The Grand Riverside Ballroom is owned by Morrison Holdings, which is a subsidiary of Chen Global Properties, which I inherited from my grandmother 6 months ago. So technically, this is my venue. But don't worry. I've decided not to evict you. Not yet, anyway. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones came out. People were already texting, tweeting, recording. Patricia pushed forward. You have no right to disrupt. Mrs. Ashford, Maya said, her tone still pleasant, but with an edge of steel underneath. I have every right, but I'm not here to disrupt. I'm here to clarify some things, to tell the truth. Because your son has been lying to all of you, and I think you deserve to know who you're really celebrating tonight. The event planner approached nervously. Ms. Chen, perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, Maya said firmly. This needs to be public. These people came here to witness a marriage. They should know what kind of man they're congratulating. She walked to the small stage where the band had been playing, climbed the 3 steps with effortless grace, and picked up the microphone. The bandleader looked at the event planner, who looked at Marcus, who was frozen in place. If anyone wants to leave, Maya said, her voice amplified now, you're welcome to. This will take about 10 minutes. But I promise you, if you stay, you'll hear something worth hearing. Not a single person moved toward the exits. Instead, they moved closer, forming a semicircle around the stage, drawn by the magnetic pull of scandal and truth colliding. Maya placed her clutch on the small table next to her, signaled to Harrison, and looked out at 250 faces staring back at her. My name is Maya Chen, she began. 8 weeks ago, I was Maya Ashford, Marcus's wife. 8 months pregnant. Standing in the penthouse we shared, trying to understand why my husband had just handed me divorce papers. The systematic destruction revelation number 1, the context. Let me paint you a picture of that day, Maya continued, her voice steady and clear. December 15th. I was due to give birth in 6 weeks. I came downstairs for breakfast and found Marcus waiting with divorce papers. No warning, no conversation, just papers and an ultimatum. Harrison pressed a button, and the screens mounted around the ballroom flickered to life. Security camera footage appeared, time-stamped December 15th, 5:47 a.m., showing Maya, heavily pregnant, descending stairs carefully, one hand on her belly. The footage cut to Marcus handing her papers. His face was cold, impatient. Maya's face showed confusion, then shock, then devastation. I asked him why, Maya said. Want to know what he told me? She nodded to Harrison. Audio played. Marcus's voice, captured by his own home security system. Look at yourself. You're pathetic. You're fat. You're tired all the time. You can't even fit into normal clothes anymore. The ballroom erupted in murmurs. Several women made sounds of disgust. I was 8 months pregnant, Maya said quietly, carrying his daughter, and he called me fat. Revelation number 2, the mistress revealed. But Marcus wasn't alone that morning, Maya continued. Would you like to meet the woman who was there? The woman who'd spent the night in our bedroom while I slept in the guest room? She gestured to Sienna, sitting at the head table with her face draining of color. Sienna Vale, everyone. The new Mrs. Ashford. Let me tell you about Sienna. The screens changed. Photos appeared. Marcus and Sienna at restaurants, at hotels, at the Aspen retreat. All time-stamped. These photos go back 8 months, Maya said. Not 6 like Marcus told me. 8. which means the affair started when I was 2 months pregnant. She looked directly at Sienna. Tell me, Sienna, did you know I was pregnant when you slept with my husband for the first time? Or did he wait a few weeks before mentioning his wife was carrying his child? Sienna's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Here's my favorite part, Maya said, and her voice took on an edge. The morning Marcus served me divorce papers. Sienna was there. And do you know what she did? The screens changed again. More security footage. Sienna walking up to Maya and the crowd gasped collectively, spitting in her face, while Marcus laughed in the background. She spat on me, Maya said, her voice still calm but carrying the weight of controlled fury. While I was 8 months pregnant. While I held our daughter in my womb, and Marcus laughed. The audio played again. Marcus's laughter, Sienna's voice. Go cry to your mommy. My mother was dead, Maya added quietly. She died 2 years earlier, they knew that. Revelation number 3, the theft. But it gets better, Maya said, pacing slowly across the stage. After serving me divorce papers and having his mistress spit on me, Marcus told me he'd drained our joint bank account. Every cent of our savings. Gone. The screen showed bank statements. The joint account showing a balance of $28,000 at midnight on December 14th. Then a transfer at 6:07 a.m. on December 15th. Then a balance of $28,000, Maya said. Money we'd saved together over 5 years. Money that was supposed to be for our daughter, for diapers and formula and pediatrician visits. Marcus took it all and transferred it to his personal account. She pulled out her phone, held it up. I still have the screenshot he showed me that morning. He was so proud of himself. He showed me the zero balance and said, "It's my money now." The crowd was absolutely silent, riveted with horror. In Texas, that's called theft, Maya continued. Stealing from a joint marital account without your spouse's knowledge or consent. It's a crime. Revelation number 4, the eviction. Then Marcus gave me 30 minutes to pack my belongings and leave, Maya said. 30 minutes, 8 months pregnant. In December. In the rain. The screens showed more footage. Maya packing a duffel bag with shaking hands, Sienna following her room to room making comments, Marcus checking his watch impatiently. The audio played. Sienna, you're doing her a favor by taking Ryan off her hands. No man would want her now. Marcus, you have 20 minutes now. Clock's ticking. Maya, barely audible. Where am I supposed to go? Marcus, not my problem. Several women in the audience were crying now. Men looked uncomfortable, angry, disgusted. He took my car keys, Maya continued, said the car was in his name. He took my phone, said it was a company phone. He took my home, my money, my transportation, my ability to call for help. And then he threw me out into the rain. The final piece of footage showed Maya walking out the door, heavily pregnant, carrying one bag, while Marcus closed the door behind her. Through the window, they could see him return to Sienna, pull her close, and kiss her. That was December 15th at 8:47 p.m., Maya said. By 9:30 p.m., I was walking through rain trying to find a women's shelter. By 10 p.m., I was 3 miles from the penthouse. My feet were bleeding, and my daughter was kicking in distress because my stress hormones were affecting her. She paused, let the image settle in their minds. I made it to a shelter at 11:13 p.m. Barely. Revelation number 5, the family conspiracy. Now, you might be thinking, surely Marcus's mother didn't know about this, Maya said, looking directly at Patricia. Surely she wouldn't have condoned her son evicting a pregnant woman. The screens changed to email printouts. These are emails between Marcus and his mother. starting 6 months before the divorce. Let me read you a few highlights. Maya picked up a paper Harrison handed her. From Patricia to Marcus, dated June 3rd. I've found someone more suitable for you. Sienna Vale, her father banks with us. Her mother sits on 3 charitable boards. She's exactly what this family needs. Gasps. From Marcus to Patricia, dated July 10th. You're right about Maya. She's not going to change. How do I end this without it looking bad? Marcus Ashford woke up in his mother's guest room on February 15th, his wedding night, with $175,000 in debt, no wife, no business, no reputation, and no future. Maya Chen woke up in her own home with a healthy daughter, $4 billion, and the satisfaction of knowing she'd shown the world exactly what a Chen woman was made of. Revenge, as it turned out, was a dish best served cold, with evidence, at a wedding, on Valentine's Day.